Christopher Williams, what's your opinion on reliability, two-stroke versus four-stroke, with the exception being the crappy E-Tech G2s? I always argue that a two-stroke is more reliable, much less moving parts, no valves or timing components that can fail. Plain simplicity, my 1999 Mercury 40, which I never winterized, ran ethanol fuel due to availability, premixed with a surplus of Mag 1 brand oil I had. The guy I sold it to in 2015 is still running it hard to this day with that same surplus of 20-year-old two-stroke oil. I just don't see a four-stroke taking the same abuse while still running strong.
Welcome to the Boaters Podcast, brought to you by the fine folks over at PartsView.com, where you can find all the boat or engine parts that you could need for your boat or engine. Check them out and save $10 to $20 using the link and coupon codes in the description below.
Christopher Williams is amazing. He sent me all kinds of stuff. He gave me like cutting oil and all kinds of like Evinrude grease and stuff. So Chris, thank you again for all the stuff. Now, as far as reliability on the two-stroke versus four-stroke, it kind of, in the lower horsepower, I'm going to say you could even kind of break it down like that. Yeah, there are certain years, certain engines, HPDIs, certain horsepowers, certain years, certain Optimaxes, 97 to 01, you're talking the OptiPops. It might even been more like 97 to 99, but real early first model fix, very unreliable engines. Forces, very unreliable engines. But, 40 horsepower Yamaha two-stroke, a 40 horsepower Mercury 99, some of these smaller horsepower, once you get into the 200s, 250s, it's kind of a different world. So it's a different thing. So more horsepower comes more problems. Like, you're more torque, more power, more abuse basically is what it's going to be. So as far as reliability goes, it all depends on the engine, because certain models are going to be more reliable than other models, but four strokes have come so far that they kind of are more reliable when it comes to a two-stroke versus a four-stroke. So if you're like comparing a 250 horsepower Yamaha 3.3 liter HPDI compared to a 250 horsepower Yamaha F250 4.2 liter, like that 4.2 is going to make 2,000 more hours than that HPDI is. And it's just that platform is so well designed. Not talking about cost and maintenance and all the other stuff. And yeah, on a small, two strokes, more simplicity, a lot easier, a lot less can go wrong. But at the same time, if we're talking about a 40 horse and a 40 horse, an F40 Yamaha and, a 40 horsepower two-stroke 99 running on a premix, like they're both going to be super reliable. They're going to last probably the same amount of time. Will the four-stroke end up costing you more money in the long run? Yes, it will. As far as maintenance goes. Now, as far as fuel consumption, though, over the long run of the two-stroke and the four-stroke, the two-stroke, based on how much time you put on it, how much you're costing in fuel burn compared to the four-stroke, does it even out? Possibly. Reliability-wise, smaller engines, I don't think that I would say that one is more reliable than the other, because you've got to throw in the exceptions of the different models that had specific problems compared to other models. Like, your 40 Mercury, like you ain't gonna have no problems with that thing. It's a small engine doing a small job that's not, taking a lot of abuse. It's getting plenty of oil and drinking fuel. So, yeah, I would say hard to compare. You really can't compare a two-stroke versus a four-stroke, because you have to compare a model to a model. There is no way of it's a platform that has a ton of different variables. It's like getting in the discussion of an Android phone versus an iPhone. They're two different platforms with a bunch of different models. same thing. A 4-stroke is a platform. A 2-stroke is a platform. There's bad 2-strokes. There's bad 4-strokes. If we compare, the unreliable and bad models of each, then, that could be something better than just the platform versus the platform. In some instances, the simplicity of the 4-stroke or the 2-stroke is going to be more reliable than the 4-stroke. But at the same time, in certain instances, the reliability and the fuel consumption and the runnability of the 4-stroke is going to be better than the 2-stroke. Long-winded answer there. Maverick Mazinko says, I have a 1999 Evinrude 50 horsepower 4-stroke made by Suzuki. Yep. And the overheat alarm goes off only when I'm about to put the boat on the trailer. Sometimes after a long run and sometimes not. It seems to be pumping water most, if not all the time. New impeller, new water tube grommet, and water pump gasket. I put a hose to the water tube, and it has great pressure all the way to the thermostat, so I don't think there's a blockage anywhere. It is very weird that it's only at low idle and neutral. About to put it on the trailer. Any advice would be appreciated. Get a heat gun. That's what I would do. I would get it, go to Walgreens, Home Depot, wherever. Get yourself a cheap heat gun that you can, infrared heat gun, and when you go to put it on the trailer, if that alarm goes off and it says it's overheating, pull the cowling and shoot it. See what temperature the engine is actually running at. That would be my first thing that I would do. And then also, since it's sporadic, you might not even be overheating. You could have a temp sensor that's going bad, or is a bad connection, and whatever reason it's messing up. So I would shoot it and make sure it's really overheating. That's kind of the first thing you want to do whenever you are dealing with overheats is, make sure that you actually do have an overheat problem. And then also, where is it? Because like on a 50, I'm not sure if I think that is a 3-cylinder, but I'm not 100%. But, with the temp, you can shoot top, middle, bottom, and you can kind of see, my head's hot, the bottom of the block is hot, the top is hot near the heat sensor, something like that. And that, if you can see an actual heat spot somewhere on the engine, now you got something to go off of. Because if you do have a blockage, the telltale is not going to give you any indication of whether or not you really have a blockage internally on the engine. Like if you've got a blockage of sand, corrosion, shells, mud, whatever. If you've got a blockage somewhere in the head, in one of the passages, the telltale runs off of the water jacket and then just goes straight to the side. That water jacket's always full of water. So you might never know that you have a blockage inside the head unless you shoot it with a heat gun. And you'll be able to see one spot that might be a lot hotter than any of the other spots. And that's because one little passage somewhere might have whatever it may be, mud, whatever it could be. So you're going to have a heat gun and you don't have to have an expensive one. Just go on Amazon and look up infrared heat gun, like a temperature checker, even a thermometer. I mean, that they got the thermometers now. You shoot people in the forehead and it tells you the temperature. Like that's all you need because you're looking for, you're only in 150 probably degree range. If it's overheating, now you might be seeing 180, something like that. So, most of the thermometers are going to give you that temperature. That's going to be what I would be doing. And then if you do have that issue, then you can look at, rid lime or something like that, or, pulling the head and you got packed sand or something in there and you got a hot spot on the engine. So heat gun, check it as soon as the thing goes off, because usually also if you've got a hot spot, it wouldn't necessarily be when you're putting it on the trailer. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're running the engine normal, you're out running around doing this, doing that. And as soon as you come off plane and now you're idling around, when you're idling around, it allows that hot spot to get hot because at speed, your thermostat's open. You got a lot of water flow going. So the surrounding water flow around the hot spot is going to be able to keep it cool. But then whenever you're at idle, you're moving a lot less water, which is going to allow a hot spot to get hotter. So that's what I would do. Now, if you like this video, you can watch the full episode over here, or you can watch another clip over here.